Gentle touches as if the baby might break, but they are not. And we place the baby on our arm. The entire weight of the body rests on your arm. In this position, it's safe for them. Hello everyone, my name is Polina Green. On this channel, you'll learn all the most important things about your baby's first year of life. Today, I'll demonstrate in practice what you can and cannot do with your baby. Watch this video carefully because it will be useful for every parent. Now let's go over the 5 biggest mistakes parents make. So, the first mistake is rocking the baby. I'll now show you how not to do it. When rocking with just your hands, it means only your hands are moving. It means that your whole body is static. Adults usually do this either while sitting, because their legs are occupied and they sit down and start doing it with their hands, or they start getting really nervous when the baby doesn't fall asleep for a long time, and they start literally shaking them like this. There's a danger that the baby might get a head injury because there's a soft spot here. The fontanelle, also the skull, hasn't fused yet, and the brain literally moves back and forth inside the skull. As a result, the baby gets a microtrauma. Plus, their neck and vertebrae are very soft. They literally rub against each other, and this can lead to issues later, such as difficulty holding their head up or trouble sleeping. How to do it correctly? So we do it from the knee. This means spread your legs slightly apart and bounce gently up and down like a spring in a slow and rhythmic motion. And pay attention to the baby's body. No shaking, the movement is smooth, and this kind of movement reminds them rocking. This type of rocking mimics the gentle motion inside the womb, which is already a familiar and comforting sensation for newborns. In this way, you can not only rock them to sleep, but also relax them, because they are in the fetal position here, legs and arms together, back rounded, head is supported by one of the hands, and I move quite slowly, but with a wide, gentle motion. If you're finding this video helpful and everything is making sense, take a moment to give it a like. It really helps support the channel. The second and equally important mistake that young parents make are the positions for carrying. In the first months of life, we often carry the baby in our arms. They literally live in our arms. And it's very important to maintain physiological carrying in 4 different positions. First of all, it is the fetal position. Let me show you how not to do it. One of the most common mistakes I see is parents holding their baby with one hand under the back and gripping one thigh. Their hand is more under the back, the head goes back. So the head moves back in this position, and for example, mom is walking around doing something, or dad, or grandma. In this position, when the head moves back, there's a lot of tension, meaning the blood vessels can get compressed. Blood will stop actively flowing to the head, and consequently, circulation will be disrupted. This can also lead to microtrauma when holding by one thigh. If this happens once or twice, it's not a big deal. But if you carry your baby like this often, their body adapts to this position. Their body will naturally mold to that shape. Because babies' bones are soft and flexible, and if a baby is repeatedly carried in the same position, their body will naturally mold to that shape. Another mistake is holding the baby upright without supporting their head, so the baby's head moves left and right. The baby's head to flop from side to side or fall backward. Here, the same danger of the head moving back can be accompanied by microtrauma, so we shouldn't hold the baby in such positions. The same thing happens when lifting the baby incorrectly, if all their body weight is resting on your hand with no proper support. I recommend you do it like this. So you hold exactly where the feet are, where the shin is, but not by the bottom. The pelvis and pelvic joints are very flexible, and this aggressively affects the entire spine. It goes inside the pelvis and gets fixed in that position. You shouldn't do that. Just remember, during the first 3 months, always support the baby's head, keep it stable, avoid putting pressure on the pelvis, and do not hold the baby in a way that allows them to sway from side to side. So, in your hands, the baby should be supported along the entire body. So, the best one is the fetal position. Another important point. Symmetry is important. You should always change hands. If I constantly carry the baby on one side, for example, in the fetal position, like this, all the time on one side, the head will always turn to the left. As a result, they will have a side preference. To prevent this, I need to change positions and switch hands each time. For example, one parent carries the baby on one side and the other parent carries on the other side, so physiological caring is very important. This is the position with a rounded back. The legs are on one side. The head is on the other side, the back is rounded, the arms are in the center of the body, and we gently hug the body like this. This is exactly the position the baby was during 9 months in the womb. Another important position in the first months of life is the tiger on a branch position, when the baby is in your arms. So, literally from this position, we move, yes, like this. Yes. And we gently place the baby on our arm. Here, you can slightly support the legs and you can also help with gas by rocking. The baby can lie down while sleeping or lift their head when awake. This helps strengthen the neck's flexor and extensor muscles. Symmetry is also important here, so we will switch from one hand to the other. These positions can be used correctly and physiologically in the first months of life. And don't worry about harming the baby's health. The third mistake is how we perhaps touch the baby. Our touches hold great importance and necessity for baby's health. His internal system, specifically the central nervous system, respond to sensations. And the sensations should be varied. I often see in young parents, they are very afraid to touch, and it's these light touches, as if the baby might break. They always say me like, I'll hurt him, I'll scratch him, I can't touch anything here. I can't touch anything here. The baby's body is covered with clothing as much as possible. Many babies are in scratches, and their feet are also hidden. What's the mistake here? Your baby will likely lack sensory experiences. They are already come from a world with different pressure, with a different temperature. They were constantly in liquid. Now they are getting used to this world. They are adapting. In our world, there is gravity. There is different pressure on the body, so we should touch noticeably. Very deeply, I take the arm, lift it gently and carefully and go into the bone. I need to reach that bone. I'm not afraid of causing pain. Trust me. Because they were in the amniotic sac, which applied pressure to their body. They also went through the birth canal and they handled it perfectly, right? So everything that presses on them, it presses pleasantly. For example, if you're afraid and don't know how much force to use, let's pay attention to our eyes, to your eyeball. Close your eye. With that same feeling, the amount of pressure you're comfortable applying to your eyeball, which is about ½ an inch deep, you can use the same gentle pressure when touching the baby. You can and should give them different sensations. These can be light touches, and you should touch everywhere, even if it seems to you that they are getting irritated by it. These could be tingling sensations. It can be something like a gentle breeze and soft, deep sensations, and more. I'm here. I'm with you. This tells the baby that they are safe. And the fourth common mistake is how we lay the baby down, and as we lift them, it's also very important to pay attention to the position of the head and neck. Look, such a little baby can't hold his head yet. In the first 2 to 3 months of life, we need to support their head. So, when you lay the baby down, it's important to do it from the side or support the head. So what do I often see? I see a parent approaching the bed, and literally in this state, when the head falls back, they just take and lay the baby down. You shouldn't do that. Do you see what's happening? Doing it once won't cause any harm, but if you keep repeating this movement, it aggressively affects the vertebrae. It could be a pinched nerve, or maybe a muscle is tight. If the baby has a preference for one side or torticollis, or if there's already a diagnosis, this will only worsen his condition. We always lay the baby down from the side and lift him up the same way. How shouldn't you lift? You shouldn't grab here with your hands and pull the body up, so the head stays down and the baby makes like a bridge. You absolutely shouldn't do it this way, and I won't even show it because it could harm a month-old baby. And how should you do it? You take your open palm, without pressing anywhere, literally roll the body onto your hand, lift the baby, and see, do you see? This position is completely safe for him when the head is facing down, and then you can use a comfortable position for yourself, for example, the fetal position or the upright position. So, we lay him down the same way, rolling him over onto his side. Here, I can support the head, for example. Like this, we touch gently. First, we lay him on his side, and then from this position, I gently roll him onto his back. And then he ends up on his back. First of all, it helps the baby to expand the viewing, to understand where his sides are, where the boundaries of his body are, to make a full head turn. Symmetry is also important here, meaning we do this symmetrically on both sides. If I'm on the other side, I'll move the body in the other direction. If, for any reason, you can't lift your baby this way, make sure to support them properly by placing one hand under their bottom and the other behind their neck as you bring them up to you. But again, when you do this, remember about the force of gravity. So, due to gravity, the baby will still feel the pressure and move back. So the best way is to roll them over through the side. And the fifth very important mistake that parents and even grandparents often make is the lack of communication with the baby. There is a common misconception or myth that babies do not understand anything. They don't get what we're saying, they don't respond to us, and they can't even focus their eyes. They see everything as a blur. And yes, if we're talking about physiology, that's true. But if we're talking about how the brain develops, then that's completely incorrect. It's important for the baby to hear your voice, and you need to be mindful of how you talk to them. If you speak monotonously, seriously, and deeply, like you would with an adult, the baby will not process or respond to it in a way that supports their development. Yes, a low, deep voice is more like white noise for a baby. However, if we speak in a sing-song tone, softening our voice, making it sweet, raising the pitch slightly, that is what captures the baby's attention. It is these higher-pitched frequencies that signal to a baby that something is happening. And little ones start to smile and start following objects with their eyes. So, you need to speak very sweet and very expressive way. Hi, Ollie. Good morning, my little one. You're smiling. This kind of communication is suitable for babies in the first 3 months of life. If you want your baby to develop properly and to have a developed emotional intelligence, they need associations. They need to understand what happiness is, what sadness is. And the way they learn that is through imitation, through your emotions, through your facial expressions. When you look into the baby's eyes and talk, in this way, you pass on this emotional intelligence to him. And this is very important for the baby.